Hello, welcome to Prospects to Pros. I am your host, Nate Tice. We have a great show for you today because it kind of wrote itself. It's a college football playoff recap of the semifinals, the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. One game ended about 6 hours ago, and the other game lasted about 6 hours. But to help me go over these two games and all the prospects that played in them, because there were quite a few that we're going to be talking about today, is the athletics draft expert, Dane Brugler. How are you doing today, Dane?
I'm good. I'm good. We couldn't have asked for anything really better. In terms of
Amazing.
action, we've been spoiled the last 2 years with these college football semis and the playoffs. It wasn't the case for so many years where it seemed like the semis and the playoffs were just letdowns or blowouts. And
Yeah.
this what we got this year came down to two teams, two games where literally the final play was in the red zone and with a chance to keep this game going. So yeah, some two really entertaining games. Let's start with Washington and Texas, and I think we have to have let's start with the Penix discussion, right?
Absolutely.
This is and obviously we do this show from an NFL draft perspective. We're not a college football show. We are an NFL draft show, and so that's important context when you discuss Michael Penix, because he is having an outstanding final season of college football. And what he did, and think about how many good games he's played over his career. Especially this year, he played his best game of his career versus Texas. And
Yep.
in some ways, he showed what he's done all year. Very aggressive, putting the ball downfield, supreme arm confidence, just
Yep.
throwing javelins all over the field. Part of that is because he knows what type of receivers he has, and he gives them a chance to go make a play. Now, the Texas defense, very good versus the run, but the secondary has been awful all season.
Mhm.
They rank in the hundreds nationally in pass defense. So it wasn't a surprise to see the Huskies passing attack find this type of success downfield. But the key to this game was going to be, could Texas pressure Penix, create issues? And they couldn't. They didn't touch him. And part of that is because the rush was inconsistent. They're very
Mhm.
vanilla with how they attack. And this is a Washington offensive line that literally is the best in the country. They
Oh, yeah.
won the Joe Moore Award for a reason. So, but the other part of this is Penix was outstanding when he was forced to move from a spot.
Yes.
And that has not
That's
been
the
the
most
case this
notable
year.
thing.
No
Yes.
doubt. No doubt. And look, I tweeted a clip of Byron Murphy, the Texas defensive tackle, who is a top 50 prospect, winning right through the A gap. Penix just gives him a little sidestep, then fires a dart to Odunze for the first down. The touchdown where he threw, I believe it was to Polk right before halftime. It was like
Mhm.
maybe a skinny post. There was a free rusher from his left,
Yep.
quickly climbed, threw a seed to Polk. Penix also had 30 rushing yards in this game, which that
Right.
doesn't sound like much. This is the first time he's gone over 20 rushing yards in a game this season. So he showed things in this game that we hadn't seen before, and it's not quite apples to apples with CJ Stroud and what he did in the semifinals last year against Georgia. But this is the type of performance, the type of tape that can
Mhm.
win over evaluators, because you don't erase the inconsistent moments for Penix this season. You don't forget the Arizona State tape, the ups and downs from Washington State tape. But at the same time, I'm very impressed by his ability to show up and play at his best when the lights are the brightest. Did it in both
Right.
Oregon games, did it against Texas, and that matters.
Yes. And being constantly aggressive is such a
Yeah.
thing. It's like such a thing that carries over. Like that aggression is wired in some guys, and that's why
Yeah.
you can't discount that. And what we've talked about throughout the year, but it's most of these evaluators are like the ones that are not traveling, not the road scouts, on the area scouts. They'll be watching the games once they're all kind of completed, and they'll be watching because the NFL season's kind of going. So they're keeping an eye. Don't get me wrong; they're watching games throughout the season, but when they really focus, okay, all right, now we're getting draft season, All Star games are here. Now they watch the 4, the 6, the 7 games. They're going to pick that one. And so that's the thing, is that us, as we're watching the ups and downs of every week, and sometimes it's ups, 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 and then a big down after the season, they might just go, okay, that's the one bad game I only watched. I didn't watch 2 in a row. I'm just saying it's just what they curate at the end of the season. But you cannot discount. So it's like, what do you want to weigh? Is it
Mhm.
the 13 games, 12 games where I've seen him hitch too many times. He doesn't operate over the middle as consistently as I would like. That's a big thing that I if you want me to get into negatives first. But I mean, I think just last night he showed the one like I got to weigh him going against a college football playoff defense. I'm gonna just put it like that. And doing the things that I wanted to see him do, which is move in the pocket, throw with pressure in his face, have a plan if somebody breaks through right away. He hit that I tweeted it, the inside fade where he just flicks the slot fade really early as the guy wins right away, right in his face. You brought up the poke touchdown where he steps up and he's throwing on the move. And on top of it, I even thought his best throw was that wheel route to the tight end on the little pump and go, little double move. He throws it to the sideline. That was in tight. He threw it with anticipation. It was tightly covered. There's 3 guys over there because it was a zone defense from Texas. And that one was, he threw with anticipation. That's something I've been wanting to see. So many times I saw him have to wait to see a guy pop open, which was often with these guys. And then he throws it because he has pretty good arm. But that was one I was like, oh, you threw that with touch and anticipation and you dropped it in. It's like, all right, so what do I weigh? And that's what's going to be so interesting to kind of break down with him specifically, all these guys, but him specifically at the end of the season.
And you know, we talk about this Washington offense and how explosive they are because they have all the pieces in place. They have, like I said, the best offensive line in college football. They have
A fantastic play caller.
the coaching, the play caller,
amazing.
and just the offensive coaches on this staff, from head coach on down.
They're incredible.
The play calling included, they are really, really good.
Yeah.
And then you factor in the weapons, these receivers. I mean, how many? Okay, if you swap out this receiver depth chart with the Chiefs, with the Panthers,
Well,
those teams are winning more games. They
yeah,
are.
yeah.
These
'Cause
receivers are better
with
than what
Junze
some
and
NFL.
Pope,
Yeah,
it'd be
they
I
are.
mean,
And McMillan as your third option.
McMillan, yep.
So again, and this is not to take away from Penix, but when you have an offensive ecosystem like this, that is everything coming together perfectly at the right time, this is what you get. And when you have a quarterback who was playing out of his mind, played the
Yep,
best game of his career, it was a lot of fun to watch. It really, I mean, as
it
someone who
was.
just enjoys watching football, I mean, I can speak for both of us. Like, it's just
Yeah,
enjoyable to watch, plain
it
and
was
simple.
amazing.
Yeah.
It
Now,
was and he plays a style that I will appreciate more than other types of styles at quarterback.
sure.
Like bombs away, just go,
Yes.
like just everything's
Aggressive.
down the field.
Yes.
Aggressive. I'm gonna always like that. So that's the thing that you always it's like watching it just from a neutral fan was actually this was fantastic way to because it wasn't too late for me on the West Coast. So but it was a fantastic way to kind of end the night, at least for me.
Yeah. And okay. So now we'll talk more about the national championship later on. But just to kind of preview this, because, you know, while we're on the topic here, the Pac 12 doesn't have anything that looks like Michigan.
No.
In term, like the Pac-12 doesn't have a single team that's ranked top 50 nationally in pass defense. Okay, not one. And the best all-around defense in the Pac-12 is UCLA, and we were robbed of seeing
What a
that matchup
matchup.
this year because Washington and UCLA, they didn't play. So Michigan's defense, their pressure packages are a lot more unpredictable. Their
Mhm.
coverages are way better than Texas. Now, you know, I mean, I still think this Washington offense, like they're going to find success because they're just that good. They're that well coached. They have the talent. That Washington offense is going to find ways to make plays. But Michigan is going to give them their toughest challenge yet.
Yeah,
And you know, that's how it should be for the national championship. But from an evaluation perspective,
it's
if
great.
Penix goes out and has a game like he did against Texas, that hype machine is going to need a generator because it's already off. You know,
Oh
it's
yeah, it's
already gone
ridiculous.
crazy. But if he does it against Michigan's defense, which
Yeah.
is, I mean, Michigan, the way that they can really create conflict to create problems, that's something that I think this offense. I mean, this offense found themselves in some lulls. You know, watch the Arizona State game, and it's like you would have thought Arizona
It
State
was
was a
stunning.
top 10 team, the way they
Yeah.
played that game. But Michigan's going to present them with problems that maybe they haven't necessarily seen, or they're not going to be able to foresee. Like I said before,
Yep.
Penix said after the game that Texas is very vanilla on defense with what they
Very.
run. They knew what was coming. So Michigan is the opposite of that. They're
Mm.
not going to be vanilla. They're going to really diversify the way they get after the quarterback. So this is going to be a test for the offensive line, for the quarterback, for everybody involved. And you know what? It's going to make for a really fun game just from a fan perspective, but also from an NFL perspective, with all eyes, all NFL eyes on this game to see how they perform. And you don't want to overreact or underreact to one game, one moment. But you know what? That just kind of happens, and it's human nature when you have these talented players playing on this type of stage.
And it's another box that would be a great way to see Penix check it. Like you just mentioned, to test the offensive line, the quarterback, but just watch what that defense did to the Bama's offensive line in Milrow. Like it just shows the difference between the quarterbacks and the line, really, in the Bama offensive line in a minute. But but watching Milrow, who doesn't have as many games played as Penix, does not have the type of awareness and football IQ that Penix does, at least the operation stuff. And he's young. That's it. That's just how he plays right now. But right now, watching him and that plan that he would have, Milrow just got taken out of the game because he didn't have a plan against the blitz or those evolving looks that you just talked about. Like I thought the second best performance of those games, those two games, was Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator from Michigan. He might have, it was him and Penix probably had the best days of anybody throughout the day. But I really just want to watch it because it's another question. You talk about Penix operating under duress, under pressure when he gets moved off the platform. He showed a little bit of that. See more of that. Does he have a plan? Does he progress from the pocket? A lot of it seems to me, is, I mean, they're really well coached, and he does, when things unfold how they should unfold, he is fantastic. Like that's why it's like you don't want to discount that. But that changing picture stuff is going to be just interesting. The one thing too, they're going to make him throw over the middle. And this, I do want to get to this one thing. This is my hesitation for anyone who wants to know why I haven't like gone overboard with Penix, is that there's really only one quarterback that's right now in the NFL that succeeds, that doesn't work over the middle. That's Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is also 230, and Jalen Hurts runs what, 4.6, ish. And that's the thing. That's why I have hesitations with Penix. We're really excited that he ran for 30 yards. But the thing is, if you're not working over the middle and you don't have the most talented receivers on the outside that can win constantly, I love that he pushes it. I love that he tries the outside, but defenses are going to make you try to work over the middle. That's the sweet spot that you want to see quarterbacks hit. But defenses, if they don't think you can, they'll just pack the paint on the outside. So that's just one thing I do want. Another thing I want to see if he can get there. But if you want to see a stat for that, this year he's 28-49 on throws from 10 to 22 yards over the middle. That's the kind of intermediate range of football. 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, 57% success rate. That's 43rd in attempts. That's 85th in success rate. All quarterbacks in FBS. So it's like, that is just one other question I want to see, is just how he operates over there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
And look, the receivers, Odunze was great. I mean,
oh yeah,
the body strength, the focus, the ability to play through contact is so good. I mean, he's a pro.
Billy Mays catch was great.
Yeah, I mean, it looks very, very easy for him. I mean, I think when you look at the top 3 receivers this year, I've said it before, but for me, it's Harrison Jr., Neighbors, and then Odunze in that order. But in most other drafts, they'd be the top guy. So it's just a loaded group this year. So Odunze being 3rd for me is not some diss that he's not as good. These guys are all very close. It just comes down to preference and what you're looking for. There's going to be some NFL teams that get upgrade at receiver in a big way in April with these receivers. So and then, I mean, Polk I think he's probably has a better chance of going in round 2 than round 1, but the way, you never know with the way he's been playing. If a team drafted him in late 1, it would not be a shock at all. I did want to also mention, when we talking about Washington, we have to talk about on defense, Braylon Trice.
What a game.
Awesome. Yeah. The Huskies pass rusher, hands are so heavy, so violent. He actually shows a plan of attack. It doesn't matter if it's an inside, outside, he'll go right through guys. When I do my top 50s and my mock drafts, I always send them to a few scouts for feedback and notes. And when I included Trice in my midseason top 50 back right after Halloween, I got a lot of, he's a 3rd round guy, multiple responses of with Trice. He's not going to test well. He's not very long, average length. I get that. I couldn't leave him out of the top 50 because, and this game was really an example of why, because he's a game wrecker. I mean, I think you just have to trust the tape with him. The combine might not be great for him. He might not hit every single box, but when you watch him on tape and see these blockers trying to slow him down, usually doesn't go well. So Braylon Trice, he had a terrific game against a pretty
Great.
good Texas offensive line.
Yeah, and one that knows what they're doing. Like they're
Mhm.
actually that's what you kind of see going against a competent offensive line. But I was going to ask you about how do you think he tested? My notes on him were I thought he's added to his pass rush move set. I liked it
Mhm.
before, but I thought he was more of an effort guy before. But like you said, I think he's gotten a more toolsy, which is toolsy in the sense of pass rush tool set as opposed to toolsy with trades.
Yeah.
But I think he's could be just a legit three down guy in the sense they moved him to the inside, which was
Mhm.
cool. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's good as a pick guy and doing all that stuff. And he's 275. Like he's got
Yeah.
legit size. So yeah, just I know I use this term a lot, but useful. I think he and he also finishes plays. I'd be curious to see like what his pressure to sack. We always see that with quarterbacks sometimes,
Yeah.
but for him, because he's strong. So he actually wraps up and gets the guys. Sometimes, he has some length issues. Maybe the guy gets around him, but that's one I would just be curious to kind of maybe study in the offseason. But great shout out with that. How about Donnie Mitchell with a fantastic double jump, Super Mario double jump
It
for the
definitely
touchdown?
yeah, we need to talk about Texas. Yeah. The play before that, how frustrated he was that because he wanted the ball. And then it was such a bummer on that final play. Just not giving him a chance if you're Ewers. I mean, I think Ewers
Yeah,
really showed his just kind of the immaturity of not immaturity, but just inexperience. Like
inexperience. Yeah,
the leverage of the cornerback where he was, you got to throw that towards the pylon. You,
yeah,
you got to make the corner go through the receiver to make a play. Instead, he throws, kind of a jump ball fade, which the corner, it was out of bounds anyways, but the corner really had no problem making a play. But with where the leverage of the corner was, Ewers has to throw that more towards the pylon than that
yep.
jump ball. And you got to give your guy a chance to make a play. So yeah, that was a little disappointing. The Texas defensive line, T'Vondre Sweat was awesome versus the run. I mean, you
He
just can't
was.
move this guy. For a team that's looking for that massive nose, he's going to be valued, I think, really high. Byron Murphy, I mean, you mentioned with Trice as a guy that finishes. Murphy is kind of a little bit of on the other side where he was the one consistent rush threat
Yeah,
for that Texas
he's
defense
gonna
and
look
on
good on
offense.
Penix's highlight tape.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the clip that I tweeted, he did an outstanding job winning with his
Yep,
hands. He wins with leverage. He's got quickness. He's got strength. Um, he showed why he's, I think, in my opinion, a top 50 guy. He'll get beat up through the process because he's a little undersized, and you can nitpick with him. But I think he's a top 50 pick all day. Uh, and then, I think Xavier Worthy was a little disappointing. Didn't
yeah,
create a ton of separation. Just couldn't get him the ball. Didn't have much of an impact on this game. I mean, for Texas, they were in it till the very end, and just
yep.
they a couple of their guys that usually show up in these games didn't, and it really just came down to the defense not being able to get consistent stops. Where the Washington offense pretty much did what they did. They
Yep,
controlled the game that most of all four quarters. So that Washington earned it, no doubt about it, and it's
absolutely.
going to make up for a really fun championship game against Michigan, who came down to overtime. It looked like Alabama in the second half really kind of swung things, and they were taking the momentum. And but towards the end, I give credit to Michigan. They made more plays, including a fourth down, one for a fourth down on that final drive, which is just a bust by Alabama, not covering Blake Corum in the flat.
Oh, I
Um,
know.
and then to drive down. I mean, that was a really entertaining game that was back and forth. I think JJ McCarthy, I mean, rarely is he asked to just drop back and read out the defense. It's just they do a great job of gaming things up, create open receivers, and it's really a credit to their offensive design. Tight
Oh my
bunch
god, so
formations,
good.
misdirection, right? Some mesh, natural rubs.
Yep.
The design really forces the defense to into conflict. And
Mhm.
McCarthy, I mean, he missed some throws. He made some throws. It's not an offense that really relies on his arm, but when he was asked to make some clutch throws, he does it. And that's what we saw against Alabama. That's some of the why he was my number 3 quarterback in the summer. I expected more from him this year, but I think it's a product of the offense. They just don't
Yep.
rely on him to be they don't need him to be Michael Penix. That's not how they operate. So, it's, but I think he deserves a lot of credit for being unflappable. I mean, it didn't matter what was happening, what the scoreboard said, the situation, whatever. He is kind of the same guy, and he's unflappable, rises to the moment. And I mean, McCarthy deserves credit for that.
It's funny. The best moments with him sometimes is when he just gets to play football. And like when I think he might be a little, sometimes he's like, okay, I gotta be perfect here. The first play was kind of an example of that. The sprint
Yeah,
out. I
right,
bet you all week they designed that to hit the high one. So he's
right.
like, oh, that should be open. And then he kind of like he tried to make something happen.
'Cause he had the underneath open. They
Wide
could
open. Yeah. Because that's the one on the play. That's where you're supposed to
right.
go. But I guarantee you all week they're like, hey, we're gonna get a nice like 20-yard gain on the first play. Like boom,
Nope.
get it, sprint out, safe protection. But the double pass when he one-handed it, adjusted, and then threw it. And it's like those moments is why you keep coming back to him, because it's just like
Mhm.
those movements on the move, those throws on the move. He'll throw over the middle. I thought one of his best passes was one that was dropped, the one that went right through the receiver's hands
Yeah,
as clean as
right.
possible. Like that was one of his best passes. So
That was
I
the big
get
third down, yeah.
huge third down. And again, it was another nice design. They were holy crap. The run game design by Michigan was
Yeah.
like hanging in a museum. But McCarthy is just, with you. It's just like there's not a lot that you get to like study. It's like 7 plays. Penix, I got 25 probably.
Right,
I
right.
can just that are real translatable plays. So that's just all it is. It's like you see the nice moments when he's throwing those in breakers. Sometimes the outside throws he sprays, and I think it's because it's just like he's really trying to push it out there. So yeah, I'm with you. I just need to watch. He's gonna be one where if he does declare, it's like I literally have to watch every every throw because that's the sample
Mhm.
size you're kind of working with.
Yeah,
Uh,
he'll be both these quarterbacks will be polarizing throughout the process. There's no
oh
doubt
yeah,
about that. Speaking of that offense, Blake Corum played really well.
he did.
That overtime touchdown I thought was the perfect encapsulation of him as a prospect. That urgent decision making at the
Yep.
line, the way he can pair his eyes with his feet, and then always finds his blockers and then makes it a chore on tacklers to finish him off.
Yep.
It's he's not a guy that's going to run well at the combine. He's not a proven pass catcher, which is ironic because his 2 catches against Alabama, one was for a touchdown, the other
It's a
was
big
that 4th
play.
down in the flat. 2 really big plays.
Yeah. And also you
Um,
see a 5'8" running back, you're like, oh,
right,
gotta be a
right.
good pass catcher.
Coming into the game, he had not even 100 yards receiving this year. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not a proven pass catcher. Doesn't mean he can't do it, but it's kind of a hole in the resume type of thing. I'm still a Corum believer. I think he's gonna be drafted probably in that 3rd round range
Yep.
and be
Makes
a
sense.
quality part of a backfield.
Yep.
It's we'll see about Donovan Edwards. He hasn't had the season that many thought he would have. I think if he's smart, he goes back to school.
Mhm.
But the offensive line did really well. Roman Wilson made plays when he was targeted. So yeah, I think that Michigan offense, the way they're coached and the way they execute from both the quarterback perspective and then also from the blocking, it's a really impressive operation.
It was. Corum's, he's a 3 down back because protection.
Yeah.
He's good. He's got a little that Kyron Williams where it's like you appreciate the game, but he might run a 4.6 and change. So
Yeah.
but it's like
And at least
that
with Corum, I mean, because Corum's probably 25 pounds heavier, than Kyron.
15.
So it's
He's
like
a little
he
pocket
he's
Hercules.
yeah. I mean, he's gonna be a legit 220, and
Yeah.
he's under 5'8". He is like
Yeah.
5'7" and change, and he's gonna be around 220 pounds.
He's great in
Uh,
short yardage
he really
because
is.
he's just a little bowling ball. Yeah.
The legs never quit, and
Yep.
he can get so low and
Yep.
just burrow in,
That's
and
huge though. Like that's
oh yeah,
so like that's more downs he can play. Like that I think you nailed it. Like pairing him with one other guy, and I would love that backfield. Like if you said you
sure.
got another guy that has a little more juice to him, like that's just a nice because you can fit him in anywhere. And that's the thing. It's
Mhm.
funny that he doesn't have a lot of catches and stuff. And again, that might be part of the Michigan offense because he looks natural catching the ball. Like it's like,
Mhm.
like the touchdown catch, he was fine. It wasn't like he batted it like a volleyball or anything. Like
Yeah.
hands were high on it. We're good. But yeah, he grows on you because you're just like the touchdown run from the spider cam view was amazing. That was the angle I was watching on the ESPN news. And
Mm.
it was just great. It was just like, like a commercial almost because he was just cut through. He made like 2 cuts on it. He's fantastic through the middle. So I really, really like what he did. I thought some Bama defenders had some nice moments.
Mhm.
I wish Caleb Downs wasn't a freshman because
Yeah.
we could just talk about him for a half hour. But I know one of your guys had a nice moment. The five technique that you like. I'm not going
Yeah,
to try his
go
last
go ahead
name.
and say his name. Who are you talking about?
Justin Boygby.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I know that you're a fan of him, and he has some
Yeah.
nice moments. He is strong as hell.
It's
Yeah.
hard for an Alabama defensive, especially defensive lineman, but any Alabama player to be underrated. But this guy is because he had a big injury last year. It was like a neck injury, and he never quite was the guy on the defensive line. This year, he's grown into that and really good run defender. Once in a while, give you a little bit of a pass rush, but yeah, I think he's versatile. I think he'd be a 5 technique. He can move more inside. I mean, there's a lot of things that he can do, and he went from fringe prospect, camp body type of guy to now he's getting drafted. And it's just a matter of how high you're going to take this guy. So, yeah, he had some good moments. Dallas Turner had some nice
Yeah.
moments. Arnold I mean, corners are always up and down because, you're going to give up your catches. But I thought he made some nice plays. McKinstry showed up as a run defender.
Yep.
I don't think that there was when Michigan had a big play, it was either because they
Beat the
executed it.
linebackers.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That was-
And a lot of times the run fits. I mean, they weren't able to get into position and win the angles. They weren't able to do it, or it's just a complete collapse, like that fourth down to Corum. So it was, this wasn't the big bad Alabama defense I think we're used to talking about, with Saban, but it's still a really quality unit. And, it took everything that Michigan had to grind out that win. So, yeah, I mean, like, I was fast forwarding this to Monday and the national championship game. This is going to be fun. I mean, we talked about how, Penix mentioned that Texas was vanilla. Michigan's going to be the complete opposite of that. I just can't wait to see what they throw at them. I mean, it's from simulated pressures to just all the games that they're going to play.
Mhm.
It's going to test the blocking, the offensive line. It's going to test, obviously, the quarterback. Roma Dunze versus Will Johnson on the outside is going to be a lot of fun. Johnson's just a true sophomore, so not draft eligible, but a guy that we'll be talking about a lot at this time next year. It's just there's a lot of NFL talent that's going to be on this field. I'd probably put the over under 20 probably. There's juniors, obviously some underclassmen
Future
decisions.
Big Ten battle.
Yeah, exactly. They're playing next year. That's it. The teams are going to look a lot different, but
way different.
yeah, this is when it comes to national championship game, you want really good versus really good.
Yes.
And it feels like we have that this year. And from an evaluation perspective, it really does feel like some of the key prospects, namely Penix, but not only him, but a lot of these guys will be tested in a way that you want to see when you scout these guys. You want to see the best of the best. You want to see them challenge. Who's going to rise up? Who's going to be able to, make the most of the opportunity? This is going to give a lot of guys that opportunity. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
I agree. And it's not only talent, it's for me, like you've already mentioned it, but the scheme stuff's amazing. Michigan's so well coached. And I think Washington's so well coached. So you see, like you said, it's all translatable, which is great. It's not just like you're going to watch it. It's just RPO, or some gimmicky defense. You're like, okay, there's 4 real reps because they ran cover 2 the entire game. But I think that's just such a good point. I'm really excited to watch even, Michigan's defensive line versus Washington's offensive line. I thought JC Latham for Alabama had a really good game, the right tackle for Alabama. He was mowing them down, but it's like, okay, well, Washington's got they're better coached than Bama's offensive line. They have some talent up there. So I want to see that matchup as well. I'm pretty fired up for this. I mean, watching, we just already mentioned the Michigan defense versus the Washington offense, and just the other side of the ball is just going to be just so much fun. I just think, oh my God, I just confused myself. Hold on. watching Michigan's offense versus Washington's defense. There we go. But watching like Roman Wilson's little adjustment for the catch and everything off the unbelievable JJ McCarthy throw spiral that got tipped into a spiral and then just kind of rose on that. But that was just such a great moment because you saw the Bama DBs, spiking down on that play and just really closing on it. And it was just, again, it was another good moment of like, oh, this is a translatable pro rep, because that was a true play action
Mhm.
concept, a true over route that he had throw on time against a safety that's driving. And we're going to see more of that this next game. So I think this is just going to be great.
This Washington defense is not Alabama defense, and so I
Yeah.
think Michigan will have a little bit more success than what we saw against Alabama. So
Oh,
can
that's
someone on that Washington defense step up? And who's it going to be? How's it? How's that going to play out? That's going to be a big factor here. We mentioned Braylon Trice. He's can he get consistent pressure against that? With that, Michigan also does a really good job just with movement with their quarterback. So you just rarely see JJ McCarthy take these big sacks. It
great
just
job. Yeah.
doesn't happen. But who else is going to step up on that defense? The linebacker number 5, Yulo Foshio. He's a great story. First of all, he's Alaskan. Not many prospects come from Alaska. This kid from Alaska moved to Vegas, to your backyard,
Uh-huh.
midway through high
The
school, and went to
classic Alaska to Vegas pipeline.
exactly
Yes.
went to Bishop Gorman,
Of course.
and
Yes.
he went overlooked. I mean, they had how many guys? Dorian Thompson Robinson was on that team.
Okay. Yeah.
Brevin Jordan, Cedric Tillman, and they were stacked. They always are. But he went overlooked as a recruit. He had to walk on at Washington, and he's had some injury stuff, but he is kind of like the heartbeat of that defense. And with the way he plays, how fast he plays, how aggressive he is. So, can he? How much of a factor will he be? They'll need him to slow down Blake Corum, to slow down that rush attack. What they do with their blocking execution. So, look for number 5, because he's turned himself into a draftable player. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of, okay, what type of draftable player is this? Are we talking about a late rounder? Are we talking about a mid rounder? How he plays against Michigan will kind of formulate that narrative.
You mentioned it though, watching those Bama DBs, like the strings that Michigan was pulling in the run game and pass game, really. Pass game was they're attacking the linebackers, but the run game, shifting, motion, shift, motion, shift it again,
Yeah.
and then run jet sweep, and then we're going to run to opposite way. And you got to see those Bama DBs in the run fit over and over and over. And I thought Laura Rutledge for ESPN did a great job. She actually said she overheard Saban going like, hey, when they shift a motion, you got to do it quick. Like you got to do it like right now, because they're gaming you up basically. And I thought so it's funny you say that, like Washington's going to be a step down. So it's going to be kind of one of these like aerial assaults on one side of the ball and then just pounding the rock on the other side. It would be a very much a like it's just that disconnect of two very good offenses, but they get there through different means in a way, but they're both
Right.
well coached. It's just gonna be such a cool disconnect. But watching these defenders have to defend those different type of styles is just perfect, because
Yeah.
again, you're going from I formation, tight end heavy to air it out, like aerial assault from week to week.
Well, and Michigan's philosophy in this game is going to be easy. I mean, they're gonna
Yeah.
it's about game control for them. Keeping their number one objective in this game is to keep Penix off the field. Uh,
Yeah.
Washington's going to go down and score, and then Michigan's going to try and have an 8-minute drive. That is what their focus is going to be. And then they'll try to hit explosive here or there, but for the most part, they're going to establish the ground game and try to just wear out that defense. And so it should be a lot of fun to watch. Michigan's favored by.
I was gonna say, do you have a prediction?
I mean, it's tough. It really is tough, because the way Penix played, how do you bet against that?
I know, right?
The way that he and his those 50-50 balls. Anytime he has a chance at a 50-50 ball, he's like, "Oh, we got this." He just
Yeah.
he's throwing it because he has that type of supreme confidence in his guys, and he
People
should.
are calling them downfield handoffs. It's like, yeah,
That's what they
that's
are. I mean,
the
basically.
one to Odunze was incredible. It was a one,
Oh
two,
my
three.
gosh.
It was like an 18, 20-yard gain, and it was like the most casual little quick fade that you'll see. It was just like it was just it was like pat and go. We're warming up, but it was just like a clutch moment in the fourth quarter, third or fourth quarter that he's doing it. Yeah.
Did you have a comp for? I can't remember if you had a good comp for a Dunze or not.
Godwin was my.
Okay.
That's kind of he might be a little faster though. But that just kind of that inside outside.
Yeah.
He'll block and scrap if he wants to. He actually has a little more juice downfield, but just kind of does everything well type.
That's the guy that I was workshopping, who he kind of it's not a perfect apples to apples comparison, but there's some Amari Cooper there.
Oh,
That inside outside stuff, faster than you think. not small, but not huge either. Like he's just a really quality player who makes plays consistently.
Always.
That's just at the catch point as a route runner. There's some Amari Cooper there with Roma Dunze, which is obviously a high compliment.
Yeah, I know. The Polk, I'm trying to figure out one because he's like a Z.
Yeah, right.
He again inside outside doesn't have a lot. Like I don't know what he'll run in 40, like because he has a good 1 to 4 gear. Fifth gear, he gets stuck getting the fifth gear. We saw it on that play, the corner route. He makes a bunch of moves, and then all of a sudden, it's like right at the end, he gets caught. It's like, oh, I
Yeah.
just want to see him open up at the end there.
Made a guy miss though, like
Yes,
he's definitely he's probably the best of the group in terms of yak of those Washington receivers. So yeah, no, that's all those guys. I mean, even McMillan's he's going to be a day 2 pick.
yeah.
So it's they're so loaded at that position.
I
It's
compared him to Christian Kirk early in the year. Like I just like,
McMillan.
yeah, like
Yeah.
kind of a vertical slot kind of guy. Oh, I know. It's just those are the comparisons we're throwing around to these 3 receivers. It's like it's just.
I mean, I tweeted it last night, but if the Panthers had these wide receivers, they would have won a few more games because these receivers are ridiculous. And like I said, it's a receiver rich draft, and Malik Neighbors played yesterday as well. They played him for about a drive and a half so he could set the LSU record. Then they pulled him.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
He had 3 catches, went over 3,000.
Do you have an NIL bonus incentive? Like like you guys at the
I just you think about all the receivers that have gone through Baton Rouge, and he stands atop the rest as having the most catches, the most receiving yards. Pretty impressive. And he did it in 3 years, so pretty impressive for him. Brian Thomas had a good game. I tweeted my top 5 receiver rankings, and it's Marvin Harrison Jr., it's Neighbors, it's Odunze, and then it's Brian Thomas, and it's interesting I got a lot of responses from those rankings, and some people have Neighbors 1, some people think Odunze is 1.
wow.
It's kind of crazy to see all the feedback on these guys. I mean, these are really talented receivers. So I am less interested in debating them and more interested in praising all of them. Because they're all, it's preference thing. It's based off of what kind of you value at the position.
Yeah.
Harrison's
it's
still
more the landing spot that I'm just so excited to see where each guy ends up.
Yeah.
That's more than anything with these guys.
Well, it is almost like a couple years ago when we had Drake London and Garrett Wilson and Olave, and it's just if Garrett Wilson was the first receiver drafted that year instead of Drake London, no one would have batted an eye. It's just what you wanted, the type of receiver you wanted, and
did you want size? Did you want the polished route runner in Olave, or did you want Garrett Wilson breaking guys off? Like it's like like you want the yak guy, you want the route runner, you want the size. Like it was kind of like pick your poison.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is another case of that where it's just the type of guy you want. I mean, Neighbors gives you a little more explosiveness, but between all 3 of those guys, Odunze, maybe physically maybe the toughest of the group, his ability to play through contact. So, I mean, you can really, it's not hard to sell any one of those receivers, and it'll be cool to see Odunze still be able to play here in this national championship game.
That I know I texted you, I was doing my mock last week, and then I was like, it's crazy to have Thomas at 4. I have a Coleman, and then that was such a nice feeling when you're like, yeah, just wait. Because I was doing my mock. I was like, I don't know, I'm watching these guys, man. This guy's pretty good, guys.
I don't think people realize just how good this guy is. Like, Brian Thomas, he's 6'4", he can fly. He as a route runner, he gets better and better.
Great feet for 6'4". Like he can actually move like or agile for 6'4", I should say.
As a freshman in high school, he didn't play football. He led his basketball team to the state title. I mean, you're not surprised when you watch his tape, and because you could see it. I mean, he would have easily played college basketball if he wanted to, but he committed to football, and really came together for him this year. He's going to test well. I mean, I know I got a lot of him over Keon Coleman, but he's going to test better than Keon Coleman. I think I trust him more in terms of being able to get open, create his own space. And I like Keon Coleman a lot. He's just a different type of receiver. So another one of these guys that's just different. I'll be in Frisco,
Okay.
DFW for the Shrine, then hop on a plane to Mobile for Senior Bowl, and Cam Ward, Washington
I
State
was gonna
quarterback,
say.
announced he's going to bypass his final year. I thought he for sure he's going to transfer, but no, he's going to go to the draft, and he committed to the Shrine game, so that'll be a big opportunity for him.
Yeah.
He's kind of in that 3rd to 5th round range as a guy that's super talented. He's raw in several areas, and it's just a consistency factor. And when can you trust him to be on the field? And so he'll have plenty of questions to answer. What about you? Did you figure out what game you're going to?
It looks like the Senior Bowl still getting confirmed, but but I saw the Cam Ward thing to the Shrine game as well, and I was kind of like, that was very interesting to me
Yeah.
because especially how this kind of class thinned out with how many guys did transfer instead of declaring for the draft. It kind of was like actually not a bad decision because that kind of glut in the middle really kind of like I said, thinned out. So probably a Senior Bowl. I think this would be interesting. Definitely want to check out Spencer Rattler there. That's another kind of guy in that kind of middle range that very interested to watch throw in person, and also just hear about any interview anyone has with him. But no, I'm very excited. I gotta confirm it though. I only could get one, so no offense to the Shrine game. I gave you 2 years when it was here in Vegas, but my wife was allowed me to go to one. She's like Frisco and Mobile. I was like, yeah, that's where
Right.
they're at.
No, it'll
But
be and we'll see here because I mean we're recording this on the 2nd.
yeah,
It'll go up on the 3rd. The 5th is when juniors will be able to officially
yeah. So next
accept
week would be nice.
all-star invites. So the end of this week, we'll start to hear about juniors accepting going to the Senior Bowl, going to Shrine Bowl. So that'll add a little more intrigue than we're usually, that just a different curveball than we usually have
Yeah,
with these All-Star games, and that'll be just to add something else to look for, and that'll be a lot of fun. Big
yeah.
opportunity for these guys. I mean, it's uh, a couple of these positions are a little underwhelming this year in this class, but this is where an all-star game, especially with some of these underclassmen, they can have a real breakout and sell themselves as, hey, I'm a little bit better than you thought I was. So
Yeah.
plenty. We're already in January, so we're talking about things
It's
that are
crazy.
happening this month.
I know.
Which is crazy. We got the deadline. So national title game this upcoming Monday. Week after that, the deadline for the underclassmen. And then soon after that, we've got the Hula Bowl, we've got
Mhm.
the Shrine Bowl, then the Senior Bowl, and then it'll be combine time before we know it. So
I
this
know.
draft process starting to really heat up.
Oh, and I got the Super Bowl to combine turnaround, which is
Oh yeah, there you go.
that's a hard shift that I've had to get used to the last couple of years, but I'm prepped for it. Fool me once, can't be fooled again.
Yeah.
I'll get it this year.
LA to Indy. That's
Oh, that one was
different.
tough. Well, Vegas to Indy this year, so I
Oh,
don't get to
okay.
go anywhere.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
That's
that's true.
that's actually the nice part. Yeah, I'll be
Home
my head
field
will
advantage.
last year I went to the game. We did the show after the game from the stadium, and then I just drove through tonight back to Vegas from Arizona, from
Mm.
Phoenix, and that was one that was like my wife when I came back, I'm like 4:30 in the morning, whatever it was. I just crawled into bed, and she's like, "Go shower, you stink." I was like, "All right, good to be home."
Yep.
But like you said, we got some fun shows coming up. We'll recap the college football final, or that's what they just call it, right? I don't think there's a college football playoff final. There's no fancy name sponsored by Visas or anything like that. But be recapping that. Well, yeah, break down who's declaring, break down to all the Senior Bowl, Shrine Game, all the All-Star Game action coming up. Here we go. We're getting into draft season. It's full systems go. Let's do this. So see you guys next time. We'll be every single week on Prospects to Pros. See you guys next week.